Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to look at week number 7, which resolves of tax and account usage. So the level of difficulty here is intermediate. So let's just see what this question entails. Being a villain is hard enough as it is, and data issues aren't only a problem for the good guys. Villains have got a lot of overhead and information to keep track of, and evil INC has started using Snowflake for its needs. So however, you have noticed that the most important part of your super weapons have been leaked, their catchphrase. Fortunately, you have set up tagging to allow you to keep track of who accessed and what information. So your challenge is to figure out who accessed data that was tagging with level super secret A+. Because it might be too difficult to create users to access the data, we're using roles instead of users. Alright then, what does it say underneath? The following is the preliminary code we want you to run before the challenge. Note that account users takes 2 hours to update. So we suggest running the below code and then coming back to the challenge at least a couple hours later. So looking at to those preliminary code, so this is if you want to create a new database and schema for this challenge. So yes, I mean I can see here it has given us the database name plus the warehouse plus the database, right? And does it give you a schema as well, or just create schemas or for each individual table? All right, and then the next one is a preliminary code if I don't want to create any database objects, right? So, I mean, this is really optional. It depends really which one you want to take. So for this challenge, what I'm going to do is I do not intend to create any databases, any new database or schemas for the challenge, right? So looking at this code, okay, we have some creation of the tables. So how many tables? One, two, three. Okay, now you have tagging involved. Okay, we applying those tags into each individual tables. We creating roles. We grant those roles to each individual Snowflake objects, and we use role to select the table. Okay, okay, that seems okay. So, and then scrolling down here, your result, your answer should look like the below, right? Let's see. So you have name of the tags, value of the tags, the minimum query ID, the table name, and role name. Okay, so let's just before looking into this result again, let's quickly create those tables, right? And plus the rows. So what I'm gonna do is let's copy. Uh, let's just start off copying the first table here, right? Plus all initialization. So I'm gonna copy and paste in here. So what I'm gonna do here is use warehouse. So make sure you specify the name of the warehouse you're going to use, right? And then what I'm going to do here is use warehouse compute WH. Enter the database here. I'm just going to call this Frosty schema. I'm just going to call this public. Okay. So if I execute this, it's already been initialized. So quick tip here. I know a lot of people that use something like this, right? A lot from, let's say, the first few lines of the code, start with line 1 to up to line 3 or 4, depending on what you want to initialize. It's best to start off something like this, yeah? But I'm going to do something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the set function. So set function can be helpful when creating Snowflake object because a set is initializing the value of a session variable because you can use it to reuse the value multiple times during the session. So the way it works is, okay, I'm going to do set and call this any name, just going to call it warehouse. And I'm going to call this as, let's say, compute WH, something like this, right? And then I'm going to do this for the same. So I'm going to do Frosty set schema public, right? Something like this. And then what I'm going to do is run this. Okay, it's been initialized, right? So if you do not want to set this, let's say it's Frosty, but I don't want to set database to Frosty, I want to set it to something else, you need to first unset this function, right? There's a command called unset. So basically what it says, okay, you initialized, I mean, to begin with, you initialize database to Frosty, but I do not want this database to be Frosty. So what you do is unset the database to Frosty, and then you can set the database to your, your desired database that you want to set, right? So I'm going to do something like this. And in order to use the use function in here, just it's not going to be like use compute warehouse. It doesn't work like this, right? So I'm going to do is you say use warehouse, right? Similar to this above, but instead of calling it compute WH, I want to call this warehouse, right? Of course, it's better. Let me quickly unset this, right? It's best to call it something else. So unset warehouse. So I'm just gonna see if this is work like this. Okay, unset warehouse, unset database, and unset schema. Okay, okay, I've unset this, right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna call this a better name. So Frosty warehouse, Frosty database, Frosty schema, just to avoid the confusion, right? So I'm going to say use warehouse, similar to the one here, right? But instead of calling it compute underscore h, I'm to call it something called, you say, it should be like this, right? Frosty warehouse. So if I run like this, you get an error, right? But why do you get an error? I know Frosty warehouse is compute underscore wh. What you have to do is you say something like this. Identifier, right? Spell it in identifier, right? Open up the bracket, $sign, Frosty warehouse, right? So set and identifier can be used. I mean, you can only use the identifier method if you set the variable to a specific value. So here, for example, I set Frosty warehouse to compute WH, right? And that allows me to use identifier, right? Just gonna run this. Let me see. I didn't spell it incorrect. That's something like this, right? Identifier Frosty warehouse, right? Something like this. Exist. Let me see if I set this. Okay. Okay, now it's working. I probably forgot to execute this. All right. So I'm going to do this similar way, right? Use database identifier, right? $Frosty database. Let's see. Often set run this one database. I'm going to do run Frosty schema and then use let's say schema identifier $Frosty schema. All right, that's working. All right. So, I mean, of course you can use this, right? But I'm just going to show you how to do this using set function, which initialize the value, right? So something like this. So yeah, this works. So make sure again, the way you want to set a value is use the set function. You set the value to you set the variable to a value, right? Which can be reusable throughout the session. And in order to use the value, compute WH, for example, you say use warehouse identifier and then $Frosty warehouse, right? Now, what I'm gonna do here is, okay, we got this bit, so it's working well. So let's just look back to the question. Let's just quickly copy this one here, right? Let's just copy the first table. Let's see what this table entails. Okay, we want to create this table here. Okay, and then Okay, these insert values. So if you see here, it's written, let's say, one insertion at a time, right? It's not like a multi insertion, it's just one insert at a time. This is one command, this is another command, right? So what I'm gonna do is execute everything in one go. So okay, that means we will get 10 rows for that table, right? Do something like that. Okay, it's done. So looking back to the table, okay. Oh, I've got there already, right? I'm not sure why I've copy and pasted again. All right. So we got something like this. ID of 10. Okay. So we got this first table. Let's go to the second one, right? So let's do one by one. Okay. Just got to do something like this. Okay, similar to this, it's just a single insertion each time, right? So again, this will give us 10 rows. So let's just see this. Okay, well, what I would like to do is just check in case we have everything, right? So select from this table. Okay, we got all 10 rows. The last one, just gonna do something like this. Let me paste in here. Okay, execute this create statement and do everything in one go here, right? Number rows inserted one. Okay. So let me just quickly see how this table looks like. So in case if there's like any errors, if we don't get all 10. Okay, we got all 10 here. Okay. So I got all the tables here, right? Let me just put this below. Make sure that's all, neat and tidy, right? Okay. I mean, just gonna do something like this. So it's going to okay. Okay, we got all the tables here. So what's the next step? So next step is creating tags, right? Let me quickly copy something like this, right? Okay. So tags, right? So in here, we are creating something called a tag, or in Snowflake, we call it object tagging. Something that we did not see, right? So a tag, if you think of a tag, is a label or an identifier that can be assigned to any Snowflake object. So they belong to a schema level object. So when you assign a tag to a Snowflake object, you're associating it with a specific key value pair. And bear in mind that every tag must be unique within your schema, and the tag value cannot be a number, right? So you can see it here, right? So they are text, a form of text, right, in here. So the reason why it's a form of text is text itself cannot be a number, so it must be a string or text value. So you may be wondering, why do we use tags, right, in the real world? The use cases for using tags are, let's say, for example, data governance based, right? So tags enable, let's say, data stewards to monitor sensitive data for compliance, discovery, protection, or resource usage. So querying tags helps discover sensitive information. So let's create or replace this tag here. So this tag is called access security class. We comment this as sensitive data. Okay, let's just run this. Okay, this is working well. What we're going to do here is alter table. Okay. So if you have something called sensitive data, we're going to apply this tag security class in here to this, right? So that we're going to do. Okay, the first one is we're going to set the tag security class level super secret A plus to villain information. We're going to do similar to those two, right? So I'm just going to execute this and let's go to the last one. All right. So looking back into the question, so now we have one more thing left is creating roles, right? So I'm just going to do something like this. Okay. So again, what I'm going to do is instead of creating, let's say, creating those roles, etc., I'm going to use the set function that we normally do, right? So first, what I'm going to do is set. So first one is going to be user number one. So I'm going to call this set. Let's just call it user one as, let's say, Frosty user one, right? Set user two. It's going to call it Frosty user two, right? Something like this. So set user three. It's going to call this Frosty user three. So in order to invoke this, I'm going to use identifier function, right? Identifier, open up $ user one, right? Similar to the rest. So let's do something like that. And okay, so I'm going to do is execute those three first. Okay, and I'm going to execute the last one. Okay, now it's working well, right? Now next, what I'm going to do is, because remember they use roles instead of users, right? But we call this user for this particular task. Grant role user one. So I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to copy like this. Okay. Warehouse name. So looking, scrolling back up. What I'm going to do is it's called. Let me quickly copy and paste underneath so it's easier for me to copy. I'm going to do user one. Okay. Warehouse, right? So I'm going to do something like this. Warehouse database. So it's going to be database, right? Something like this. Then let me see if it's actually working, right? Okay, that's working. So let's just see if there's any errors. Okay. You may be having different numbers, so because on my database we have like several tables. I'm gonna do here is so what I'm gonna do here is do the second one for user two. So I'm just gonna do something like this. Okay, enter warehouse. It's gonna be FrostyFriday here. It's gonna call something like this. Enter database. Okay, let's see if it's actually working. Check for any errors. Okay, again, the last one, user number 3. So the warehouse. Okay, something like this, right? So it's going to execute this. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna do is similar to what we've done here. Execute. I'm just gonna select this role, right? User number 1 to build our queries. User number 2. and user number 3. There's a lot of copy and pasting going on. So this is why you can reuse the value, right, throughout this session. So user number 1, execute this. All right, done. User number 2, execute the table. User number 3, execute this table. All right, it's all done now. So looking back to the question, so I finally completed the whole using the preliminary code, completed this bit here. So let me just close this one here. What's this telling us is the result should be something like this. Tag name, tag value. Let's just start off with those two. Tag name, tag value. So in order to find the columns called tag name and tag value, it's best to see the account usage views under the Snowflake database. So I'm going to do is go back to databases under Snowflake, account usage views, right? So we have tons of views here. So when we say tag value and tag name, this should fall under anything related to tags, right? So if you have tags and tag references. So let me see tags, columns. We have what are the column code again? Tag name and value, basically. So we have name but no value here, right? So let me see tag references. We have tag name and tag value. So this may be one of the tables that we're going to use, right? So what I'm going to do here is going back to project, open up your worksheet here. So scrolling down, we can use tag references for one of the tables, right? So for tag name and tag value, right? So let me quickly see something. So select Snowflake account usage tag references. Oh, let me see what's the name again? Account usage. What's the name of the table? Tag references. Oh, okay. I think I know why. I'm going back to here. Okay, because I'm using FrostyFriday user 3. In order to view your account usage views, right? In order to look all the views within account usage schema, you meant to use an account admin for this, right? Use role account admin. Okay, looking at this table here, bear in mind for you, if you using this, it may not show up, right? Because the account usage view will take 2 hours for you to view the result, right? As mentioned on the question, right? So if you go back to here, the following is the preliminary code we want you to run before the challenge. Note the account usage takes 2 hours to update, right? So after looking at few hours, so I'm going to look at, okay, we have got the tag name and tag value, right? I'm not bothered into looking at the others. So I'm going to do here is tag name, comma, tag value, right? Okay, I got something like this. Okay, for the next one, okay, I got similar to what I can say here is the minimum query ID, right? So looking at the minimum query ID, what we can do is, I think pretty much, if you're going back to this database here, right? If you look into this database under account usage, account views, let's see access history. You could use the query ID, to be fair, anywhere, but I'm just going to use for access history, right? So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do is okay, use the access history view in order to see the results, right? Let me just quickly see what the access history entails, right? So I'm gonna go back to the worksheet here. Select from Snowflake account usage access history. Let me quickly see this. This is because this is the main table to view all your queries and other stuff, right? Let me just quickly see what's in here. Okay. Looking into this, okay, we have the query ID, right? We have the query ID, query start time, username, direct object access, base object access, object modified. Okay, we're going to, we can use the query ID in here, right? Let's see what else does it has. We have the query ID, table name, and the row name. So let me quickly see if I can use table name and row name in this table here. Table name doesn't exist here. Let me see one of the JSONs. Okay, let me type your query ID. So we have this table name and user. Is it username or role name? Or role name, but okay. Okay, not in here. Okay, not in here. Just gonna see object modified. No, sorry, we have machine look in here. Nope. Let me see here. Let's see. Okay, this will take a bit of time. Let's see. Check name. What's this? Let's see here. Columns. Table. Direct. Let me quickly see the timing here. Okay. 1 ID. Let's see. Stage. Let's increase the size in here. Query start time. Let me do something here. Just gonna do something like this from query start time ascending order. Oh, my bad. Should be order by query start time descending order. Okay, let's see. Worksheet app user. Okay, I'm just gonna check for my user here, right? Table view. So looking into this, the table name should be week 7 with information and weapon storage. Okay, let me see here. Oh, here. I think I found. I think I found something. Okay, here. Let's see. Okay, table. So I've got here table, right? So we can use this. We can still use the same table in order to invoke the object name, it says here, right? So you can do start. What about a role name? And we have here, okay, here, similar to columns. So we have table, monster information, another one here, with information. Okay, I'm going to use this for our table name, right? So we got basically those three plus the table name, role name. How do I find the role name in here? Okay. Let's see. How do I find the role name? So in order to find the role name, so let's see. I don't think I can use this table. Let me quickly write a note here. We can use query ID and table name, right? Okay. So I'm going to use the table name here. Okay, I'm just gonna write a reference here. And then what I'm going to do here is, let's see. Not locations, location. Let me see the columns. Role name can't not be in here. What's this one? Nope. Okay. Role name. Oh, you have username here, right? Okay, if we use username, that would be easier. Okay, we have role name here. Okay, I don't think we can use role name. So I'm gonna do is okay. Go back to the database. It's going back to the views, right? So it should be Snowflake and does account usage. So let me see roles. So I use roles, but I'm going to think of how to join those tables together, right? Query ID, right? We can use a query ID, role ID, name. Okay, it's not going to be okay. It's not going to be good in here. Let's see. Where can I find a query ID here? Should be another history table. We have the what's called access history. Should be like a query history something, right? We'll see. Query history. Let's see query history. Let me see. It's gonna join because I know we have a query ID here. I'm gonna join with another query ID. I think there's a bunch of other tables in here you can see, but let's just quickly see this. Query. Oh, role name. Okay, we have role name. So that means if I'm just looking back to roles, did we get role name here? Oh, we have a name, not called role name. Okay, we're going to use this. Where was it again? It was query history, right? So query history. So what I'm gonna do is okay, we have query ID plus the role name. Okay, query history, right? So I'm gonna do going back to this here. I'm going to call this as let's say from Snowflake account usage history. Okay, we got some stuff in here. You can see the role name, right? FrostyFriday user 3, user 1, or something like that, right? So we can able to see those tables here, right? We see this role names in here. So we're going to use the role name, and let me just note that down here. Role name, and if it's a query ID, it should be in here. What else do we add? Okay, there's a bunch of other stuff here we not bothered about. So okay, we use those three then, right? So we're going to use those three, and I'm going to join those two by query ID. Let me just quickly see. Query ID. Okay, we got something like this, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, now what I'm going to do is let's just build the table, right? So I'm going to do select. The first is a tag name. So I'm going to say tr tag name, tr, let's say tag value, right? And I'm just going to say, what's the next one? Minimum query ID. Okay, I'm just going to do query ID. Query ID, we're going to use that for, let's say, it doesn't really matter, but we're just going to do, call it AH for access history. Query ID, this query ID, and then what I'm going to do is table name, or before looking into, let's just see this. What's going on here? Table, oh no, it's not called, I mean, table name is within a JSON object, right? I think, let me see, let me do star. I think within the table object here. Which one did we look at? So this one, this one. Direct object at the base. Let me see what's even the difference here. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Okay, that's fine. Not really sure what the difference here is. Okay. So we're going to look into, and let's just call it base object access, right? It's gonna say here. So I'm going to name this table, for example, we have looked this in our previous challenges, the way we flatten a JSON object into a table. So the one I'm going to do is just going to call this BOA for base object accessed. I'm just going to call this, let's say, let me see this quickly. It's header, these are columns. Okay, it's table, right? So here I'm just going to do, let me quickly try out something. So select. So I'm going to do dot value. It's going to do something like this and could say object name. Yeah, in order to get this here, object name string as table name, right? Something like this. From this table here, right? I'm just gonna do lateral and see table. Let's equal to flatten, right? It's called table. Let me see. No, this is called a. It's coming about top of my head with the syntax. Okay, this is gonna be called lateral flatten. Yeah, it's going to call this base object access. Okay, something like this. As oh, let me quickly do something like this. Oh, don't forget the comma. Okay, finally we got the table name. Hold up, let me see the table names. Okay, all right. You need, in order to get a table name, you need the database schema and the table name, similar to what we got here. All right, we got this. So I'm gonna add this in here. Let me delete. Let me just do one by one. Okay, this is quite a challenge here. Table name, and then we need one more. It's the role name. So role name, we looked into the query history, right? So I'm just gonna look at the query history. We got the role name, right? So I'm gonna do. It's going to do, say, let's say role name, yeah, something like this. Okay, but of course, execute this doesn't work, right? So I'm gonna do here is I'm going to do a join for tables in, right? So in order to join, if you have a lateral flatten, if you're joining, let's say, a semi-structured query, right? Something like this, you'll flatten the semi-structured data into a structured one. So you want to use the inner join up in here, right? So it's not something like this, from lateral flatten and then inner join. That doesn't work. So in here it should be from this history, right? Access history. I'm just going to do left join, right? I'm just going to try do left join, yeah? I'm going to left join this on Snowflake account usage access history on the query is let me see. No, what I'm going to do is left join on, let me see, left join on this table, right? It doesn't matter which way you want to left join here, left join on that, right? So I'm just going to say AH, right? Just an alias, given an alias that we have done here, TR. Just going to left join this as, let's see, left join as history, left join, I can't use tag references. And now we have to do a left join on, let me see, left join on access history, something like this, right? On, let's say AH query ID, and then QH query ID, something like this, right? Let me see. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. From Snowflake, I can't say. Oh, there should be a comma here. Comma. Q row error identifier. Q. Oh, my bad. Q H. Okay. Okay, I've got something like this. So again, looking at this query, so we have, let me just do this more nicer. We have the tag name. Let's say just call it tag name, right? Just gonna write exactly in here. Query ID, yeah, just making sure that you understand what's going on. And similar to the previous challenge we looked at on how to gain the value object name. So we let him flatten this, right? Object name, string as table name, and then the row name as row name, right? From Snowflake, account history, access history, and attack references. So you don't have to say left join on this, on whatever. This is all enough, right? So, because just find out a one way to join these three tables. So that's why I've seen query ID that represent on those two tables, right? So query history and access history. So I'm going to join on that, and then I'm just going to flatten this out, right? So I've got something like this. So we need to, okay, let me just look into this. Let's see. What else could we do? Security class, okay. Okay, I'm going to do, say, a where clause here, right? Where, let's say, tr tag name, yeah, equals, let's say, security class, right? Let's make sure that we have like a bunch of them. Okay, but I mean, in this instance, I've only got security class, and it's gonna do, and let's say tr dot tag value is going to be, okay, regards to tag value, it should be level super secret A plus plus, okay. It's going to copy and paste into here, right? So something like this. Let me see what's the result. Ooh, okay. Okay, let's see. Let's see why though. Let me just quickly debug in here. Because I can see we have those two here, right? Oh, understood class, right? My bad. Okay. Table name now. Okay, I'm just gonna do. Okay, I have those two. Query ID should be the minimum query ID, right? It says for the group. Then if I've had the minimum query ID, so I have to group this by the rest and then do that, right? Let's see. Okay, let me do this. So I'm gonna do min query ID, right? Group by tag name, tag value, table name. Let's see if that works. Okay. Okay, I've got something like this now. Query ID. Okay, table name is not. It's not what I want to know. I've got a few tables here that from previous challenges and stuff. So what I'm gonna do here is wait, I don't understand why I've got one of the tables on the tag value and that because I don't think I've tagged in this. Let me see quickly above here. Yes, it's only this. Where did I do? It's not sure if I can't admin here. Okay, I don't need the comment. Let me quickly. What I'm gonna do here is Okay, let's just do something. Let me see. Let's see here. Role user one, user two. Right. So let me do and think. But how can see? Let me just quickly see the table names because I don't understand why I've got Westminster table under level super secret A in here, which I didn't do. Oh wait, something's messed up in here. Let me quickly just go back to access history. I think this table, right? Let me quickly see something. See which one I chose base object, right? Ah, okay, there's still a bunch of IDs in here. Okay, I think my best to table object domain is table. Okay, let me just quickly. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to okay, object domain is table. So if you have the table name, I'm just gonna do something like this. Boa value in order to get, let's say, in order to get table. So I want to filter this only by tables. So if you get the object name as the proper table standard name, right? So I'm just gonna do value. So I'm just gonna do something like this, right? Object domain string equals table. Okay, let me see this now. Okay, I'm not sure why these are for the previous challenges, right? So I'm not really bothered on the previous one, but that's just fine. So I'm just gonna. So again, let me quickly look into this. So looking into this, yeah, I can see we have. So because I want to filter this by the table that we've chosen, because sometimes I'm not sure why we have given other tables because I haven't really tagged those security classes on the other tables. So let me just focus on those three, and I want to filter out by those three. The way we can do it is just bear in mind that table name gives us frosty.public.tablename, right, which is the object name. I can do the same here, right? I'm just going to do and. So I'm going to use a split function. So in here we're going to do split by table name, right? So bear in mind table name is giving us something like this, right? And I'm just going to do. So I'm going to do something like this. Split table name. It's going to do. It's going to be by dot, right? So it's going to do something like this, right? And I'm going to get the first character, which is Frosty. So it's going to be something like this. It's going to call it string. So it's going to be tr dot object database, something like this, right? It's going to do the same as the rest. So is this going to be called object schema object name? Okay. Okay. Let's see. Create this input. Put this in. Let me see. Okay, I've got quite a few because I think. Oh, because I've already. So I've already done this, right? So done this before. So we have. let's click Frosty user 3, Frosty user 2, right? So let me just quickly do. So looking into this, so what I'm gonna do is looking back at the query result. So looking back into this table, tag references, looking back at the result set, I can see we have role name is user 1, user 3. So let me just quickly filter this by and role name in. So we code this Frosty user 1 and Frosty user 3, right? I should get two results. Okay, if it's correct. Frosty 3, Frosty 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, looks tag name, security class, tag value. Yep, that's correct. Query ID, table name. I've got week 7 weapon. Let me just order this by. Oh, that's fine. That's okay. Villain information, Frosty user 1. Alright, information, Frosty user 1. User 3 is weapon storage location. Alright, that's it. Well, okay, we got something out of this now. I think this is a bit of a difficult task to do. So we got this at the end. Please let me know in the comments how you're finding this task and if there's any questions that you would like me to go over. So yeah, pretty much this helps me to understand how to initialize, using the set function in a different way. You could use the identifier method to do that. And also this helped us to understand what tagging means, right? So you can see here, okay, for this table object in the role, the label is given as level super secret A plus. So we know contains like some sensitive data, right, in the real world. And then below, in order to see those columns, we have to do more digging deep into the account usage views, right? So make sure that you look into each columns. What are the join conditions that you can do, right? For example, in this task, I've used query ID, right? And then, yeah, we looked into how to, flatten the JSON object into a single value, right? Similar to object name and then object domain. And then, yeah, and then in order to split this, to do some string manipulation, you use the split function, right? To get the object database schema and name, and then we set this to the specific row that we need to see the output from, right? So yeah, this is one of the tasks that can be helpful for you to understand about views, understanding what tags, and then also understand how to initialize the value of a session variable. So yeah, and thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.